This is Michael Cowen, and welcome to Trial Lawyer Nation.
You are the leader in the courtroom, and you want the jury to be looking to you for the answers.
When you figure out your theory, never deviate.
You want the facts to be consistent, complete, and credible.
The defense has no problem running out the clock. Delay is the friend of the defense.
It's tough to grow a firm by trying to hold on and micromanage.
You've got to front load a simple structure for jurors to be able to hold on to.
What types of creative things can we do as lawyers, even though we don't have a trial setting?
Whatever you've got to do to make it real, you've got to do to make it real. But the person who needs convincing is you.
Welcome to the award-winning podcast Trial Lawyer Nation, your source to win bigger verdicts, get more cases, and manage your law firm. And now, here's your host, noteworthy author, sought-after speaker, and renowned trial lawyer, Michael Cowen.
Today on Trial Lawyer Nation, I am joined by my partner, Natalie Arledge. Natalie, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great. And since this episode is dropping on December 31st of 2023, we're going to talk about our goals for 2024.
All right. I love it.
But before we jump in, I wanted to say thank you to someone that met one of my goals for a past year. That's LawPods. LawPods is the company that produces, edits, distributes this podcast for us. They make life so easy because you and I just need to talk, and they handle all the rest. They do all the production. They sat with us and messed with our mics before this to make sure they sound decent. They will then do all the editing, put out all the little ads, and make sure it actually gets out on all the podcast platforms. So thank you to LawPods, and I highly recommend them if any of you all want to start your own podcast. So Natalie, let's talk a little bit about goals. This is our year-end podcast. So happy New Year's Eve or happy New Year, depending on when you're listening to this. Do you set goals every year?
I don't, and that sounds bad, but I don't set goals every year. But the older I get, though, the more I set goals for myself. Maybe not year-long goals, but I definitely do short-term goals. But this is probably one of the first years I've decided to set myself some year-long goals.
Yeah, I think it's super important, and I'm changing that, by the way. So when we finish our meeting that you and I did half of at lunch and have to do the other half after this podcast, now you're on the spot. You're going to have some goals that we're going to hold you accountable to.
Okay.
You're Coach Town next year. I actually, I have done it, and I think I need to do a better job of it because I ran into, when I was 49, about turned 50, I wrote down some goals for my next decade. And, I've done a couple of them, but I need to make sure that every year I move towards them where they're not like goals I can get all done in 1 year, so I can't wait till I'm 59 to get them all done before I turn 60. So I think it's really important that we come up with goals and that they're realistic goals, that they're a stretch, they're going to make our lives better or make our practices better, but also that there's something we can really achieve. Like I said, I'm going to win the Boston Marathon next year. Well, no, I'm not. I could quit practicing law. I could train 24/7, and this body is not going to win any foot races. But I think I can try cases. I can make more, if making money was my goal, I could do that. I could do things to make my life better, to make my practice better. But to say something impossible or even like outside our control. Like I think one goal is I'm going to try this many cases. That's a good goal. Saying I'm going to get a verdict for this amount or more. Well, you don't control that. I mean, you'd like to,
right?
But you can try the perfect case and do everything right and not get that big verdict. And you can have a mediocre case and get lucky and get that big verdict. So, I do think that, we should try to get things that are within our control. Why do you think goals are important?
Well, we've got to have direction. I mean, we got to have direction of where we're going and what we want to do, what we want to accomplish. I mean, one of my goals is making money. I love making money. Right?
Yeah, I do too.
But it doesn't just happen. I got to figure out how to get there. And so I think making a goal is, it's the only way to get what you want at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking at my goals for the next decade is, there's health-related goals, there are fitness goals, and there are professional goals as well.
So one thing I kind of thought about though, so when you're setting a goal, do you think it's better to have a specific goal? Like, if your goal is for health, would you want to say, I want to run a marathon by the end of the year? Or would you have set a goal that just says, I just want to be healthier, I want to exercise more?
I think a specific goal is so much more important, because what is a wishy-washy goal? How do you know if you met it or not? How do you know if you're working towards it? If you say, I want to be healthier. Well, if I'm 450 pounds on January 1st and I'm 449 pounds on December 31st, I am healthier. I lost a pound, you know. But I don't think that that's really what the goal should be. So, I think they need to be realistic. They need to be something that will, though, be enough of a reach where they'll make a change. I think we should be looking for like big bang stuff, like what really would make my life better. And then something you can measure. Am I really, it's within your control. You can figure out how to get there. So yeah, like I think, saying I want to lose some weight. Well, how, I want to lose this much weight by this day, and this is my plan for getting there. Then that's something you can check in towards. And, every month, like, how am I doing on that? Every week, I can weigh in. I can see if I'm making progress.
And I guess that's why it's important to be so realistic, because there's nothing more disappointing than not meeting your goal.
Yeah, I've done. Well, I just did that. My goal was to run a marathon in January, and I fell off on my training. I got up to 14 miles and I fell off, and that goal is not canceled, but it's deferred. I'm not going to run a marathon in January. I will run a marathon in 2024. I'm not going to run it in January of 2024, just because between getting busy and frankly getting a little bit down, I just kind of stopped running. I'll get back to it, and I could go run a half marathon now easily, but I've run a marathon without enough training once before. It was awful. I don't want to do it again. So, I would rather just get back into the habit of running, and then, but I'm still not giving up on it, but I'm deferring it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm mad at myself for not. That was one of my goals for the year, and I'm not going to meet that one, and I am a little disappointed. But we're going to fix it for next year.
There you go. Well, give yourself a little grace, right? I mean, you were going to do it January 2024. Maybe you'll do it August 2024 instead.
So what did you do to set goals?
What did I do to set goals?
Yeah, to set, you said you've come up with a list, and we'll get to them in a minute. But I'm more interested, like, how did you come up with what your goals are?
Oh, well, this is so terrible to admit, but I guess it's always because at the end of the year, I just feel like a total mess. I think a lot of people probably feel like a total mess at the end of the year, right? You're just scrambling, trying to keep it together, trying to get stuff done, and you're doing stuff like half-assed. Can I say assed? I guess.
Yeah, you can.
You're doing things half-assed, and you feel bad. So that's usually kind of what gets me thinking, like, okay, what am I going to do better next year? Next year's a fresh start. What am I going to do different next year? I mean, I'm sure next year at the end of the year, I'm going to be scrambling like a maniac again. But it's always a good point to think, like, where can I improve? What can I do better for next year?
Yeah.
So I just sit in the quiet and just think about this weekend I was thinking about my cases and some of the things that I wanted to do in them and what I wanted to do more of in the future. I came up with a list of some specific ones. I don't know if you want to hear those yet.
So let's share goals. Then I want to share how we came up with them, why there are goals, and then talk about what our plan is. And then maybe we can follow up then next year to see whether we really did them or not.
Oh my gosh.
But with
the
you,
pressure.
I'm putting real pressure on you. See, I got to get someone to hold me accountable. Maybe we'll do it with each other, because when we have our monthly meetings, I'm going to ask you about your progress towards your goals. Maybe you can ask me too. We can do a shared accountability here.
Okay, that's good. I like that. We could do that.
Okay, so what are your goals?
Okay, so the first goal I have written down is I want to spend 2 to 3 hours looking at and analyzing the FOIA documents in the cases that I get FOIA documents in. I want to really take my time and look at them, because there's always such good nuggets in them, always.
Great.
And I always find something to beat up on the deponent about.
Yeah, that's a very good goal. What other goals do you have?
Okay, so still kind of on the trucking topic. So the driver logs. So I don't always get them in every case, but when I do get them, I want to spend more time looking at and analyzing those, because those are another gold mine for information. And so I think if I spent some more time looking at them, I would find more nuggets to use in my cases.
You will. Yeah, talk to me after this. I just did a presentation last week on how drivers cheat on electronic logs. So
okay.
Give you a little reminder.
Okay, so the next goal I have is I want to draft a pattern jury charge after the ICM with the client. And that's all. Those are all words I probably need to explain too.
Yes.
So the ICM here at our law firm is stands for the initial client meeting. And it's the first contact we have with the client when we first get the case, and we talk to them and we kind of learn about them. We learn about the crash, learn about their injuries. And then after that initial client meeting, we're off to the races. We're drafting our petition, we're filing it, and we're going. But I know you've coached us many times about drafting the jury charge before, we even write the petition, really, if we can. And I think that is so valuable because it's kind of like setting goals, right? I mean, I've got to set the goals for my case. What do I need to prove in my case? And I need to figure all that out in the beginning.
Especially if you want to get to a punitive damages case, you need to figure out who needs to have done what in order to get there. So you need to know how to plead it, to know what to look for in discovery, to get the information you need to defeat summary judgment, and then hopefully to convince a jury that you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great goal, is drafting that jury instruction, that jury charge early in your case. You know what your mission is. What else?
Okay, so my next goal, so I kind of got this idea from Sonia. I want to have pictures of all of my clients, at least one good picture that I can put up on their case file. So when I open their case, I could see their picture. Sonia is so good. She finds a really nice picture of all of her clients and puts it on her case file. So she's not just looking at a blank or their driver's license picture. Kind of reminds you that these are real people that we're working for.
Great lawyer in Florida, Joe Cramalungo, actually, on all his wrongful death cases, he has pictures of all the people that passed away, and he tapes them to his monitor. So every day when he goes to work, he's like, "This is what I'm working for."
Oh,
and also like, "Hey, somebody got killed. I got it. This is serious. I got to focus on it."
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, because we get so bogged down in like the everyday technical stuff, and we're working with the courts or the court reporters, depots, hearings, mediations, and you kind of just sometimes the last thing you think about is like, okay, this is a real person. It's like, no, that should be the first thing we think about. And that's kind of what gives you some passion too, right? For your case, is you thinking about this is a real person that needs real help.
Yep. Any more?
I do. I have two more.
Okay.
I want to empower this is kind of a general goal. Maybe I need to specify or figure out a way to specify more, but I want to empower my team to feel confident in making decisions on the things that are within the scope of their role on this team. But I haven't figured out how to do that yet. It's kind of just a thought.
Can you give an example?
So my medical coordinator, Nellie, she is in charge of helping our clients get to the doctor, helping them make doctor's appointments. If they need transportation to the doctor, she'll set all of that up. So that's her role. She was just asking me after lunch, a client couldn't make it to an appointment. He was, his car was broken down. He needs to rent a car. She wants to know, can we rent him a car? It's like, well, yes. I mean, that's not something that I need to make a decision on, right? That is totally within her role, her abilities, her responsibilities. So I want her to feel more confident in the future that she doesn't have to ask me that kind of stuff. She doesn't have to come hunt me down, look for me while I'm at lunch. That's something that she should feel confident in just taking care of.
Absolutely. To be clear for all our defense lawyer listeners, we do not make referrals to the doctors. We just make sure that our clients are able to get to the doctor's appointments, that they have the whatever co-payments they need, if they're using the health insurance, if not, that whatever arrangements have been made to make sure they can get there. Just remind them, give them a gentle reminder of their appointment, and again, help with logistics, like do they need help with transportation and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like the job description. It's medical coordinator. She coordinates everything for them.
Exactly. And the last one?
The last one is that I want to use more visual aids. But, and this is kind of inspired by Sonia too. She is such a whiz on PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I wish I had her skills. She can work on PowerPoint in the middle of the depot and change it up. I have tried it. It scares me. I don't do it right. I mess it up. So maybe PowerPoint's not for me, but I want to figure out a way to be more visual in my depositions and my hearings and in trial.
I think that's a great goal.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I think that might be enough, though.
Yep. Well, I have 4.
Oh, okay.
So my first one is I want to hire someone to take over the administrative part of running this law firm. I want to spend more than 50% of my time actually being a lawyer instead of being a manager or an administrator, so that I want to no longer have to meet with the accounting person every week. and I want to no longer have to meet with a marketing person every week. And I love them; they're great people, but I don't want to be taking time doing those things, meeting with our operations person every week. I want someone else to just take the bull by the horns and run the firm for me and let me practice law.
That's a good goal. That's a whole nother job.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes I've traded a really good lawyer for a really mediocre manager. I want to get back to being that good lawyer.
You're a good manager, Michael.
I know, but I'm a better lawyer.
Well, probably so, yes.
If you look at what I can bring in fee-wise practicing law, we could hire a pretty damn good CEO for that amount of money. The second one is I want to try 2 jury trials at least.
Ooh.
No less than 2, no more than 4. I think more than 3 or 4, it gets to be too much, especially because you have to prep for 2 or 3 for everyone you ever get reached on. But I want to try at least 2 cases to a jury next year. I'm not going to make a go on what the verdicts are because I don't have control over that. Obviously, we always want them to be as big as possible. But what I do have within my control is I can find 2 cases to try.
Yes.
Big enough. We'll figure that out. I did it last year. I did it the year before. I'll do it again. The third goal is to get back to my health routine that I was on, which is going to be running at least 5 days a week and going back to tracking what I eat, because I had lost about 80 pounds and I found 25 of them back. And I don't want to find I want to at least get back to where I was, and I don't want to find any more of what I lost. The whole lost and found in weight happens pretty easily.
So much easier to find than it is to lose.
And the last one is I want to hike up to the top of a mountain that is more than 14,000 feet.
Oh my gosh. So what would that be? What mountain?
Mount Elbert in Colorado, right outside of Leadville.
Okay.
It's all hikeable. It doesn't require special climbing equipment. One of our referral partners, Mike Gray, and I are going to go. We haven't scheduled a date yet, but we've decided we're going to do it. So that'll go hand in hand with the training. And that's one of the things that's on my bucket list I have to do before I'm 60. And I want to knock that out next year, is climbing what they call a 14er.
Okay, that's very cool. Okay, so that's why it has to be over 14,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they call them 14ers. So I want to do a 14er. I've never done I've done 13.5 before. I've never done 14. So I want to break the. And that was 1987. So it's been a little while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, those are good goals.
Each year, the law firm of Cowen Rodriguez Peacock pays millions of dollars in co-counsel fees to attorneys nationwide on trucking and commercial vehicle cases. If you have an injury case involving death or catastrophic injuries and would like to partner with our firm, please contact us by calling 210-941-1301 to discuss the case in detail and see where we can add value in a partnership. And now, back to the show.
So let me go back to your goals. So how are you going to make sure that your first are really specific? Your first are real specific.
Mm-hmm.
That you're going to spend 2 to 3 hours looking and analyzing the documents we get from the federal government on the trucking company. Make sure you're spending more time looking at the driver logs in each case to look for what we call the teleporting trucks or other evidence that they're falsifying their logs, even though they're electronic now, and that you're drafting a jury charge right after the initial client meeting. How are you going to make sure you get all that done?
That's a great question. I didn't think that far ahead. Well, the good thing is that they're specific. So I feel like I can I have a bulletin board right here behind me.
Yeah.
I could put up a reminder. I'm definitely going to need reminders.
Yep.
That's a great question, though. But other than just having something visual in my face every day telling me to do it, I don't know. You know what I probably will do, though, is I'll probably tell my team about my goals. And, because they're the ones, when we get documents in, they see them before I do. They know when the initial client meetings are scheduled. And so I might ask them too, like, hey, remind me, help keep me accountable.
Yeah, we do need to enlist your support system, both, I guess, from what I'd say the top down, which is Brett, who's our chief galvanizing officer that helps me manage attorneys, and me, tell us what the goals are, and then when we have our regular meetings with you, we can be going over them. But also the biggest thing, tell your team, tell your paralegal, remind me when we get this document in, I need to block off 2 to 3 hours looking at it. So when we have our weekly meetings, you need to remind me, hey, I don't see this on the calendar. When are you going to do this? When you have the initial client meetings, you need to remind you, hey, when are you going to do the jury charge? And then keep track of it somewhere. Either give yourself a task in a case management system or keep a chart somewhere. But if you don't track it, it's not going to happen.
Oh, that's a good idea to actually put it on the calendar. I hadn't thought of that, but the calendar keeps me more honest than anything else.
Yeah, if you schedule it, it'll happen.
Yes, exactly. Because otherwise it's, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, and then things come up, and okay, I'll do it Friday, and then it's like, okay, I have other stuff to do. I don't have time for it anymore. That's me.
What's your plan for getting pictures of all your clients?
Well, we already kind of asked them at our initial client meeting. We'll ask them throughout the life of their case. But I think maybe I just make it a specific point to our clients the first time I talk to them, like, hey, I want to know you, and I want to put a face to your case, and you're the whole reason we're doing all of this. And so send me a picture of yourself. Take a selfie right now. Text it to me. We have this awesome case management software that they could just text directly to the files. So
yeah,
maybe during the initial client meeting, hey, just take a selfie. Send it to me right now.
Yeah. Or you can even take a picture of them.
Well, that's true. I could.
Okay, here's the bigger one. Empowering your team to feel confident to make decisions within their scope. So it seems like it's a couple parts. One, they got to figure out what decisions are within their scope and which aren't.
Right.
So how are you going to do that?
I don't know. I think that one probably needs some more thinking time by me. But I mean, definitely just over communicate. I feel like I have to over communicate for me personally, but I think for everybody else too. I've got to just talk to them all the time about it and just remind them, like, hey, you are allowed to do this. You're allowed to do this. You're allowed to do this. You don't have to ask me. Some team members that have been with me longer than others, it's like, I feel like they have a better sense of the decisions they can make. And so hopefully with over 2024, with over communication and constant reminding that they can make some decisions, they'll start doing it.
And then the final was, using more visual aids. How are you going to meet that goal?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is my depositions, because I feel like that's probably the easiest place to kind of add visuals, and you've got the time, the jury's not staring at you, or the judge isn't staring at you. And if it's your deposition, you can take all the time you want changing your visual aid. So I'm probably going to have to work it into my depo prep somehow. I need to think of, 1 or 2 visuals every time I'm depo prepping and just make it part of that.
Do you already have the skill set to make your own visuals, or do you need any either help or development training in that area?
I guess I should, right? I mean, I know the basics of PowerPoint, but I feel like I could always use more training. I want to be a whiz like Sonia.
Yeah. So how are you going to do that then?
Well, I bought a book that I haven't read yet, Beyond the Bullet Points.
Yeah,
I'm going to
that's a
start
help.
there.
Cliff Atkinson, one of our former guests. Yep.
Yes, yeah, I read. So I've read part of his book, but I probably need to have it on my desk with me, and while I'm doing my depo prep, and kind of use it more as a reference. That might help. And then maybe just taking some classes online. Somebody showing me how to use PowerPoint.
That same company, I don't even remember their name anymore, but we had to do the Microsoft Word training. They also do a PowerPoint training.
Oh, okay.
So
Maybe
feel
I'll check
free
them
to.
out.
Yeah, and it's not that expensive. I mean, it's in the hundreds, not the thousands. And
oh, great.
I haven't read it yet. Michael Leserman said he uses a book called Presentation Zen. I saw him speak last week, so it's on my desk. I just bought it. So if you want it next.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sign me up.
I'm bringing some reading with me. I've got some long flights coming up for my Christmas vacation, so I'm bringing some reading materials with me. But when I get back, you're welcome to it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So, Michael, what's your plan for meeting your goals in 2024?
Yeah, so mine are pretty specific. So one, I've been working on for a long time. So I want someone to come in at really, there's a book called Traction that talks about having an integrator, which is the idea between Traction as a good business has a visionary that comes up with the ideas, and you have an integrator that actually makes ideas come to pass and runs the business. And we're just big enough where we need an integrator. And so I've been working by myself with a coach, actually, with a recruiter to find the right person. I'm going to make a job offer tonight. Hopefully it gets accepted for the right person. I guess we'll know one way or another by the time this episode airs in 13 days. And then, if she or whoever it ends up being accepts, then I'm going to have to just go and really define what I want that person to do, and then work with that person, over the next year and with goals. In fact, that person's compensation is going to be tied to meeting these goals of learning something, taking it off by plate. What are the things that we need to have that person, like me, still involved in somewhat like legal strategy. I still need to be. I think I add a lot on legal strategy. I can't hire a non-lawyer to handle legal strategy for me. So for me to be available to talk to you about how to strategize your case is great. For me to be the one to say, hey, the depo's gotten done on this case, someone else can do that. And someone else can make sure that other person's is doing it. And so, same for, getting the bills paid and all the other things that I do. So that's how I want to do that, is just, hiring the right person and then meeting with them very regularly as they learn the job, so I can make sure that, I can start handing off one part after another of the business to her.
Okay. And hopefully that person starts very beginning of 2024.
Or whatever the notice period is. Yeah, we'll find out, like I said. It would be nice if that person could start before our firm trip to Santa Fe so she could get to know everybody, but we'll see.
Hopefully. What was your next goal? And how are you going to meet that?
Yeah, my next goal is trying 2 cases. That is just a matter of, I'm really spoiled at the firm because I get to choose which cases I come in to try. So it's making sure that I'm looking at people's dockets and looking at, okay, what are some cases that I want to try that are realistic to go to trial? And I'm really looking, it's funny, I'm not just looking for the big hit, although I'm tired of trying smaller cases at this point in my career. I do have trials that, because it's a lawyer that hasn't tried a case solo at a firm, and so I'm going to go in there, and the goal of that one is to make sure that I can go teach and mentor that other lawyer, not just go try the case on my own. And there's other cases, Mallory and I have a death case set in February. I want to try that case, and we work so well together, it's going to be nothing but fun. Whereas Kayla, our New Mexico lawyer, and I have a minimum policy limits soft tissue case set for trial in Albuquerque, New Mexico in November. That one's also exciting to me, even though it's not going to be, even if we hit a home run in that case, it's not going on our website. Just doesn't have it's not a catastrophic injury or death or anything. But, I've not tried a case in New Mexico yet. I've practiced there for years. I've yet to go to trial in that state. I want to go trial there. I've not tried a case with Kayla yet. She's brilliant. I want to see her develop. I want to work with her. And that'll be more of a coaching trial for me. But I'm just looking at, every quarter, what trials do I have? And if it gets to like September, October, I haven't tried enough cases, then I'll jump in and try some shittier cases I'd rather not try. Whereas, if my plan goes, I can try a big one in February, then I can be pickier.
Right. So you tried 2 cases last year or more?
Yeah, no, I tried 2. I tried the rear end collision against SpaceX that I got a mediocre verdict on, and I tried the product case that I got a good verdict on.
Oh, okay. Was that your goal last year too, to try 2 cases?
2 is what I want.
At least 2.
2 is good.
That's good. Said, keeps you in good practice.
3 to 4 would be ideal for me, as long as I have someone else doing a lot of the technical part of running the firm.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
well, yeah. Hopefully, when your integrator comes, for you up to do 3 or 4.
That's my hope, because I would much rather be trying cases than having meetings in the office. And not everyone feels that way, but that's me. That's what I like. The health, I have the tool. There's a company called mybodytutor.com, and I actually pay to have a woman call me 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, and I'm supposed to log my exercise, log what I eat, and we talk about it and talk about the mindset. I've been falling off, but I have the tool there. I just need to recommit. I talked to her on Friday saying, look, I'm burned out for the year. I'll talk to you Monday and Tuesday, then I'm going on vacation, but I promise you January 1st we're coming on strong. So I've got to do that. And then for the 14er, I got to go pick the date. That's the big thing. So I'm going to try to get that done actually, by January 1st. I've got to just go talk to my running coach. Does a lot of mountain stuff, and figure out like what's a good time of year, like where it's not too hot, not too cold, to get up there, not going to have crazy weather, hopefully. And then pick the date, hire a guide, and then start the training program. So I've got so many coaches in my life. I've got a fitness coach, I've got an eating coach, I've got a running coach, I've got a business coach, but it's what I need. And so I'm sure he's going to have me running a lot on the treadmill with a big incline. He's done that before, put me on an incline for an hour at a time. It's not fun, but that's how you get your body ready to do that. And then I have to figure out what I can do for the higher elevation. I guess when I'm in Albuquerque or Santa Fe, I'll have to do the uphill stuff.
There you go.
But it'll be fun.
Okay, well, that sounds good. And you've got a plan, and you're already executing your plans.
I do. I've learned a lot that, failure to plan is planning to fail. And so I've worked a lot more in my life about being a lot more purposeful on what I do so that I actually get things done.
Well, that's good. We'll have to take a notes from you because I need to be better about my goals.
Oh, we all do. Well, listeners, let us know what your goals are, and maybe we'll talk about them on a future podcast episode. And if you want any advice on how to reach your goals, we can talk about that too. Just send me an email, michael@cowenlaw.com, COWENLAW.com. Also, I'd ask everyone to do 2 favors for me if you like the podcast. The first one is, if you've read my book, Big Rig Justice, go on Trial Guides, and if you think it's good enough to leave a 5-star review, please leave a 5-star review. If you don't think it's good enough to leave a 5-star review, if you can keep that to yourself and not leave a review, I'd really appreciate it. Halfway kidding there. The other is, if you do trucking or company vehicle cases, we are having our Cowen's Big Rig Boot Camp. That's going to be here in San Antonio, Texas, on July 12th. It's going to be a great seminar we're going to put on again. Please sign up at bigrigbootcamp.com, and look forward to seeing you all in person there in San Antonio. So I hope everyone has a great 2024. Happy New Year, and I look forward to talking to you all next year on Trial Lawyer Nation. Thank you for joining us on Trial Lawyer Nation. I hope you enjoyed our show. If you'd like to receive updates, insider information, and more from Trial Lawyer Nation, sign up for our mailing list at triallawyernation.com. You can also visit our episodes page on the website for show notes and direct links to any resources in this or any past episode. To help more attorneys find our podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast on any of our social media outlets. If you'd like access to exclusive, plaintiff lawyer-only content and live monthly discussions with me, send a request to join the Trial Lawyer Nation Insider Circle Facebook group. Thanks again for tuning in. I look forward to having you with us next time on Trial Lawyer Nation.
Each year, the law firm of Cowen Rodriguez Peacock pays millions of dollars in co-counsel fees to attorneys nationwide on trucking and commercial vehicle cases. If you have an injury case involving death or catastrophic injuries and would like to partner with our firm, please contact us by calling 210-941-1301 to discuss the case in detail and see where we can add value in a partnership. This podcast has been hosted by Michael Cowen and is not intended to, nor does it create the attorney-client privilege between our host, guest, and any listener for any reason. Content from the podcast is not to be interpreted as legal advice. All thoughts and opinions expressed herein are only those from which they came.